Hey, good morning. Welcome back to Pagitt Radio. After a little hiatus, we are back. Hi, Victoria.
Hi, Doug.
Hi, intern Quincy. If you are used to watching on the Ustream, we're not doing it today. In fact, we might not do it again. We're doing a little playing around here with the radio show. Pagitt Radio, broadcasting live out of the Twin Cities, around the world, and maybe even on the space station.
So I could come in my pajamas. Well, I could come anyway in my pajamas, but
totally. As I am currently.
Yeah.
I
was wondering.
Not technically my pajamas, but the things I put on when I first get out of bed.
Oh, your first
clothes?
Because
I'm
always
cozy wearing my
around
pajamas.
the house clothes?
I'm always wearing my pajamas, one might say, if you know what I mean. Yes, but I haven't had a chance. It's been a morning of running around and crazy making.
Yes. Absolute gremlins have infested our system.
Yes, we had to do a bunch of things. I had to get in a car this morning in order to make the radio show happen, which I'm not opposed to cars. I think
for the love.
Yeah.
But before 10 a.m., I mean, that's just too much.
And in order to make this work, I had to drive somewhere else. Like the solution was elsewhere.
Outside Peacedale Studios, when we thought we were a contained unit.
I thought it was good enough. That was
we thought everything we needed was
the
here.
Lost Island.
And
but hey, a number of things here with the show. Some of you have wondered. People have asked me literally, and I'm not joking right now when I say this isn't a story. I normally just make up things to make my point and tell them as real stories. This one actually happened.
What?
I was running the other day, and someone waved me down, said hello. Someone I hadn't seen in a long time. Someone I knew, but hadn't seen in a long time. She said, "Oh, I was just listening to your radio show the other day." Yeah, it was very nice. So she asked, hey, but you haven't been on the last couple, this, Well, and it's true. We've been off for a couple of weeks. Some of that planned vacation, and some of it also having to consider for me personally my availability to the regularity of the radio show.
Yes.
So I'm trying to figure this out because I've got a couple of things going on.
You got some gigs.
I've got
up-and-coming
big gigs. I do. In fact, in the announcement gig front, in the commercial section of the portion of the radio show today, I'll tell you.
Do tell.
You and I together, Quincy, are you coming to the Wild Goose Festival?
You already asked her that a couple weeks ago.
Are you coming, Quincy? No. Quincy's not coming, but Victoria and I are going to be in North Carolina.
Yes.
And we're going to be at the Wild Goose Festival. So if you're going to be there, we would like for you to come over. On Friday, we're broadcasting from noon to 2, I think somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah.
And we'd like to have listeners who are regulars come over. We have gifts and giveaways, and we have a chance for you to meet people and to interview others. So here's what we'd like. If you are a regular listener to the show and there's someone who's going to be at the Wild Goose Festival that we should have on the show, message Victoria or I about that. Victoria or me about that. Me or Victoria.
Message me or Victoria. Yeah.
Message me or Victoria.
You always know what to say if you just take the other person out. Like whether it's me or I.
Yes, that's what I was just doing.
Grammar moment.
I love it. People appreciate a good grammar moment. And that's what I was just doing with switching from the I to the me.
Message me is a whole, I mean, you're already outside the realm of grammar there. Like
Really? Call me is not, but message me is?
I don't know. I mean, it's become an accepted phrase, I guess you'd say. Send me a message.
Call me?
Or, yeah.
So how is so what's
It's not really a complete sentence, I guess. Message me.
Call me? Is that a complete sentence?
Probably not. But see, language is flexible and it evolves, and so these are phrases.
So when you're doing
use.
the I me, I got that. I felt that come out funny out of my mouth, like some guy that just had his wisdom teeth taken out.
Quincy.
Trying to get a high five from Quincy who had her wisdom teeth taken out. But how do you know if the order should be me and Victoria or Victoria and me?
Just take out the Victoria and say it as you would say it if it were just. Oh, Victoria and me or me and Victoria? I don't think it matters. That doesn't matter.
Because it seems a little selfish to put yourself first.
Yeah, no, the order doesn't matter. It's just easier in terms of figuring out whether you use me or I.
So if you're going to be at the Wild Goose Festival and there's somebody you think you'd like to have on the show, what we'd like you to do is you to interview the person.
If you want to take a hold of the content and not have grammar.
Well, I think people appreciate good grammar. A good grammar lesson that they probably had in third grade, and now we're revisiting on their run on a treadmill. It's going to be
like the People's Radio Show at the Wild Goose.
And so message Victoria and me. Try that again. Message Victoria or me, not both of us.
Yeah.
No reason for that. message either of us, and we'll slot you in if we can arrange an interview with that person. So that's happening, and then a week later, the Church Planters Academy is happening. The Church Planters Academy, a place for people who want to start new, innovative kinds of churches in a more sort of homegrown style.
That's here in Minneapolis, correct?
Fly into Minneapolis. It is the 15th through the 17th of October. No, of August. 15th through the 17th of August. So that's going on. Then in October, there's an event happening that some of you might be interested in Bangkok.
Yes.
And rumor has it that one night in Bangkok makes a strong man stumble. But come for
the world's your oyster.
Come for like 10 of those stumbling nights in Bangkok. There's a get together of people doing interesting emerging kinds of Christian expressions around the world that are networkers getting together in Bangkok. So if you find yourself
Mesa
to be a part of a larger net, let me finish this thought. Sorry. If you're part of a larger network of people and you want to represent that network there, then come to Bangkok, and it is called Mesa. It's the Mesa Gathering table.
MESA, so people can find it. I didn't mean to interrupt you. It's just so people can find it.
That's right. So they can search for the Mesa Gathering, and that's happening in Bangkok in October.
Seems like a bunch of lovely folks.
And as it turns out, that's not even the busy stuff that's making me reconsider the time availability for the radio program.
But that was my drum
more.
roll.
There's even more. I started working in an effort called the Cana Initiative. Have I ever told you about the Cana Initiative? Do you know about it?
You have mentioned it.
I mentioned it. The Cana Initiative is a little acronym, which is a little ironic and self-defeating, because I think acronyms make the world worse, one acronym at a time. I'm not a fan of them, but anyway, they work. They work.
Kind of punch
They're utilitarian.
Holes in
it's like
vibrant. Well, Cana is a good word, though, as long as the acronym is a word.
Oh, fair enough.
I'm okay with it.
Hey, is there a grammar lady? Grammar moment.
I don't want it.
And then you're like the grammar lady.
No, everyone's listening
worst.
to my grammar, and it's bad. I have bad grammar.
Yeah, but you're educated. Like,
I
someone
am,
like
but that
you
makes
can
it
use
worse.
bad grammar because you don't have to. There's other people who use bad grammar
people
because
just
they
judge
don't have
me
a
or like,
choice.
how did they let her out of graduate school? They're talking like that. So Cana stands for.
Is there a name? Thank you, because I lost my train of thought there. Is there a different word than an acronym if you're using a real word as an acronym? Is there like a?
I don't know.
Well, somebody should
maybe
look that
that.
up.
Yeah,
somebody
our listeners.
Quincy. Intern Quincy is on the social
her.
media stream right now. So Pagitt, Pagitt at on Twitter,
or
Doug Pagitt Radio or Doug Pagitt page on Facebook, and you can message Quincy if you know. Is there a term? Look, and if that's true and there is a term, and you send it to us, we're going to send you a gift.
Oh boy, you're going to get some great goodies.
Gifts. I was trying to think of something I have at my disposal that would count as a gift, and I couldn't think of anything that would be worthwhile. But we'll send you a really great gift. That's what they do in those fundraisers.
You could have the book for today's guest, or any number of books.
Yes. I could. But I was trying to think of a good gift that somebody would want.
A Doug Pagitt Radio shirt.
Oh, there's something like that. We'll send you a Doug Pagitt Radio shirt. It was formerly Victoria's because there's only 3 of these, I think. And I'm not giving them mine.
Might be
I'm not giving them mine.
No, we can have one made.
Is there a different word for an acronym if it's an acronym that's actually a word?
Yeah. Okay,
all right, so the Cana Initiative. Cana Initiative stands for Collective Action Network of America. Okay. Collective action is a notion. It's an endeavor. It's a happening. When organizations of in the same industry band together in order to accomplish things together, even though they're competitors in their industry, that's often called collective action. So you might think about a business association in a local town.
Yes. Your
local business association. You know, one business is trying to get business, and they're not trying to defeat the other person, but they're not working a lot. They're not joining businesses, but they're part of a business association that would allow them to work
collectively. Does a co-op count for a collective action, or is that different?
That would be different. Because then all those people are part of in a co-op, like a
particular business.
They're all part of the same business. A collective action would be the set of co-ops that find a way to work together.
Yeah.
So, and this is true in almost every professional class and category. There are collective action organizations, professional associations, that kind of thing. So the notion of collective action is just a
I forgot the N and the A again. Collective action
network.
Association
of America.
Oh, of America. But that doesn't say that it's necessarily religious. Like, isn't it?
No, it doesn't.
It's not religious. Collective active.
Yeah, so it's a collective action. So the CANA Initiative is a collective action network of organizations, individuals, spokespeople, efforts that are trying to convene and live out an emerging kind of Christianity in our world. So there's been a lot of this that's happened over the last 15 or 20 years, a lot of efforts that would fit into not just progressive and liberal or progressive or conservative categories, liberal or conservative categories, but they're this other thing. There's all this emerging stuff. Well, what a lot of us in the emerging world of religion and spirituality and Christianity in North America haven't done is to organize together to accomplish big things. Yeah. The way a collective action network of America might do. So we're now organizing this, some efforts and some initiatives to accomplish big things. Because what Collective Action Network should do is help every part of the system do the things that are important to them that they otherwise couldn't do on their own. Yeah. I sometimes refer to it in nerdy language, nerdy like social organizing language, as structural collaboration. Oh, because there's a lot of collaborating that goes on an interpersonal or on a one-to-one basis, right? Sojourners would band together with a local church to have an event, right? Or they would band together with another organization. Sojourners might with a nonprofit to help raise awareness for something. Yep. And that's going to happen most often because there is a connection between those people. Right. Somebody knows somebody, and there's some like-mindedness. They're enough the same, so they're functioning inside of a relational, social, interpersonal network. Right. But then there's a kind of organizing that is structural, where you're going to organize not because you know someone, right, but because there's a system in place that allows you to network. You don't have to know somebody. Somebody's doing some planning for you and a way to participate and a way to be involved.
Created a platform.
A platform for this to happen. It's not only through interpersonal. And
that's what CANA is.
Connection. So CANA seeks to be that structural collaboration. So when I think of my inventive age categories, which many of the listeners might know about already, and those who don't, they're going to just feel like this day was worth getting up for. Yes. So I would suggest that we're in the fourth stage of cultural development in North America, if you were to use the taxonomy I'm about to unroll, that there was an agrarian age, an industrial age, an information age, and now I think we're in this fourth period that I call the inventive age. So we're in a new period of cultural organizing and of cultural formation. The agrarian age was rural and was primarily tribal. So people lived in towns with people they were related to in some way or the other. Most of human history is that way. Yep. And they did their lives all there. And it all happened. In kind of a contained fashion. And there was ways of organizing. There's ways of doing all the things we do in life. There's a way of teaching. There was a way of raising food. There was a way of raising your children. There was a way of practicing your religion that fits within the agrarian society. Yep. And around the world, we still have agrarian societies, and they still use those functions. With the development out of agrarianism into industrialization, when certain inventions allowed people to work and live together in new ways, and wherever historians will mark the beginning of industrialization, say in the late 1700s in Europe and in the middle 1800s in the United States, this kind of urbanization or this kind of industrialization brought with it a kind of urbanization. Yep. So people were moving from the rural America or rural parts of the world into a common place. Cities. In the United States, much of that included the big immigration push into the United States in the 1800s.
So big groups of people that don't know each other are living in mass housing.
Living side by side with each other. So you'd still have little enclaves, but you had to negotiate a side-by-sideness to it. Yeah. Well, within industrialization, there's lots of things that happen. How we produce and medicine and travel and all, communication, all this stuff changes, right? Yep. And in that soil grows up religious expressions. So the our current day denominational systems, the mainline churches, they were the product of the industrial age. Yeah. They were what religion looked like if you were going to do it in the industrial society. That's what it would look like. So they organized with headquarters and with middle managers that you have in hierarchies and with certain outcomes and all this kind of thing. Well, those folks figured out a way, the denominational churches of those days figured out a way to have collective action. They organized together in certain ways. Out of that came the World Council of Churches, the National Council of Churches, all these, and many other ways for people to connect together in these churches, right? In religious organizations. So there was a kind of organizing. Well, industrialization ends up giving way to
the information
age because of the product of the industrialization.
Did you like how they supplied that for you as a good psych?
Yes, it was perfect.
That's what I'm here for.
Just boom.
So here we were.
So here we were in the information age, where information was becoming powerful. Then it didn't matter where you were from, as it did in the agrarian age. It didn't matter what you produced like it did in the industrial age. It mattered what you knew. Changed religion dramatically.
Yes.
We moved from urbanization to suburbanization. Lots of things influenced this information age. People were moving out further, and we shifted from the farm in the agrarian age being the center to the factory in the industrial age being the center, to the school in the information age being the center.
Yeah.
So then people would they used to describe where they lived because of what your dad did for a living. Now it's described on where your parents wanted you to go to school. So people are picking on these,
and that came from the printing press and books being available, people learning to read,
literacy,
mandatory education, literacy.
All that
stuff.
Created all of this need. Well, it also birthed a whole new kind of religion. It's called evangelicalism. So the modern evangelical movement, then called the neo-evangelical movement, was started by groups of people who were producing a kind of Christianity that made sense in the information age. Because it didn't matter what your denomination was. Did you know that there are 4 laws that govern the universe, just as there are laws that govern the universe, or are there 4 spiritual laws that govern your relationship with God, or steps to peace with God, or Billy Graham, and the kind of ecumenicism that was alive in the world. So, okay, all this is going on, right? Then those evangelicals figured out, well, you know what we need to do? We need to organize together in different ways so that our new expression of religious life has a way of collective action. Just like there was the way that the denominational systems organized together, evangelicals said we need to have a way to.
Yep.
So those of us who are practicing in that field.
And so invention, creation, that it's not so much about what you know anymore, it's more about what you can make.
What you make.
What you
generate.
Not the same as what you make in the industrial age.
Yes, because then in the industrial age, it was more as if culture was gathering up its resources. I mean, it was a very explosive and creative time.
Yeah.
But a person felt that they were a part of a system. The mindset was that you were a part of, you were, not to be overly dehumanizing about it, but you were a cog in the wheel.
Oh, well, it absolutely was that way. I mean, it was a time where there was a lot that reform needed to happen quickly in terms of the way people were treated.
Right. So all those social movements and political movements that were going to protect people was a big deal, really big deal.
Whereas the event of age seems like it would be more focused on the individual.
The person's generating what the impact they want to have. Be the change you want to see in the world.
That's right.
That notion.
That's the motto of the inventive age.
Yeah,
right
there it is, right? So make, create, live, generate, all of that kind of stuff. And look, there are benefits and weaknesses to all cultural periods. Culture is neutral in its morality, right? And what human beings do within those cultures are is where our morality comes in. So there are things about our current situation in North America, this inventive age, that are, to many people's sensibilities, really a loss. And to others, it feels like, well, it's about time. You got all this going, right? So what some of us have been trying to do is to create religious expressions of Christianity that fit well in the inventive age. And other people have other names for this. The postmodern age, emerging culture, anything, right? I mean, I just like my word.
Yeah.
And so in the inventive age, people are figuring out what does that look like for an expression of life and faith and Christianity, and it's going through very tumultuous time within religion, and as a part of that is the right time to organize. So that's what we're doing, and I'm going to be doing work for this Cana initiative, employment level kind of work, and so and the Cana initiative, it doesn't provide, doesn't generate, doesn't suggest how organizations should be different per se. It doesn't ask them to stop doing what you're doing or to pause doing what you're doing to come and do this thing with us.
No.
Rather, it's meant to organize in such a way as to say, what is it that you're currently doing? And what would you like to do? What could we all do if we did it together that would make what you do better and generate something that doesn't currently exist? So it's exponential kind of thinking, not asset relocation.
Like practically?
So it might look something like, I mean, this is something also that like the National Council of Churches does, the National Association of Evangelicals. Those two organizations, those two sets of relationships and dynamisms, they do this very similar thing. They're just doing it with people from a different vantage point, a different cultural norm, a different context. So we're talking about doing this with people that take the inventive age period of life, this current period we're living in, they take that seriously. So we're not concerned about someone's denominational affiliation or not. They can have it. They should have it. If they have it, they should bring it. We're not concerned about everyone holding the same values or the same essence. The call is anyone who's working in the same conditions could join into the collective action. I mean, in a more dramatic sense, when a hurricane strikes the East Coast, neighbors don't stop and ask, do you decorate the way I decorate?
That's right.
Do you think about, do you vote the way I vote?
What do you think about the Trinity?
Yeah, you don't ask those questions because you say, we have this thing available that we have to do right now, and we're going to set all the rest of that aside. Not that it's not important. It's really, really important. It's not what brings you together today.
Right. And this is exactly what Jim Wallace was talking about in his new book when he came into the studio. What is it? The good for
the collective,
all?
The
collective. Oh, geez.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And whatever the title of his new good book is.
Yeah, it's On God's Side is the book, but it's something about
But this is what he was talking about.
Good.
I think.
Yeah.
This is exactly what he was talking about when he was in. I still don't understand practically, like, what does somebody, like, does everybody sign up and they all have an email and then somebody puts out like, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, how's it going to work practically? I know it's not going to work that way. It's just the first thing that came to mind.
So, and this is the trouble when for all of us when you start to imagine a new set of relationships. We all want to use our current tools.
No, I don't.
As a form.
I'm just stupid.
As a form of our imagination, and we can't. No one can help that, right? That's just that's what one does. So we end up with a bicycle seat on a bike because it looks like a horse saddle,
right?
Not because it's the best bicycle seat,
right?
And then there are times where one can imagine a whole new set of connections. So if you could imagine, we did. You and I both experienced this when we were first introduced. I don't know when it happened for you, but when I was first introduced to Facebook, like in 2007 or something, I had all the other questions about what a website is and what email is that were informing my
understanding of
Facebook. Now that's been replaced, right? With a whole different. So now I would say something like, don't email me or call. Now I say, just Facebook. If you want to interview somebody at the Wild Goose Festival, message us.
That's right.
Because I don't know what it means to be communicated with. You could send me a text, you could call, you could email, you could do a Facebook message. It's all now under the category of messaging.
Right.
Well, that's a much broader category than what email is. So hopefully the Collective Action Network of North America, CANA, will have ways to connect with one another and to collaborate that are as fresh and fitting for this period we live in as the other expressions have been previously. So it's
something is being created.
Something is being created.
Something inventive.
Yes.
Some kind of system.
And it will carry over. And there's a word for this, and I can't think of it right now. I was just talking about this the other day with somebody. It will carry over some of the impressions and limitations of the previous world, like a website having a web page with a bookmark. Well, we know where that came from because we actually know somebody who was helping to design that stuff, Michael Toy. But that's using a book.
Yep, as a model.
As the model. And then we even talk about having a file, and you put the file into a folder.
Yes.
And then we talk about there being a trash can. Throw it in the trash, and on my desktop, on my Mac, it looks like a little trash can.
And just drag it down.
So there's something, right? One can only push people. Now, your file on a computer is not the same as a paper file. In fact, when people ask me oftentimes for the original of it, I'm like, really? Is there an original of a digitally formatted copy? Like, I guess we could print one and then call that like the original. Like, it's hilarious, isn't it?
I'll pretend for you.
Yeah, this happens a lot. Like, so the file created there is somehow different than the way it was created someplace else. But we're gonna have, but there. So all that to say, there will be some things that are similar. Yeah, people are going to connect with each other. There's going to be a website. There's going to be email. There's going to be meetings. We're going to have a meeting in November at the National Cathedral. There's going to be those things. But the hope is that those are really generating a kind of life that is as different as a desktop file is from something that sits underneath my desk and slides out with a clicky lock on it. So yes, it's a file, but it really has a different dynamism to it. And that's the trick, right? This trick always for anyone who's trying to create something. Anytime any of us are creating something new, has to have enough familiarity and enough newness for this to work. And then different adherents to these new movements will tend to find themselves attached to the new aspect of it or to the
old aspect.
Yeah. The previous one, right? I mean, you can see this obviously in Christianity itself as it's developed. So anyway, I've got all that going on. It's going to take a lot of life. And so I'm worried that the Doug Pagitt Radio space in my life is going to be consumed. So that's not a decision I'm making yet. It's not a decision I've made yet. It's a decision I'm making now.
So we'll stay tuned.
Like the church up the street that put up the little sign that said, "Faith is a journey, not a destination." This is such a curious thing to me to say. But anyway, this is a journey.
Yes. We'll see where
there's no conclusion. So anyway, how have you been, Victoria?
I'm doing all right.
Yes?
Yeah. I've still had continued health struggles, but things are getting better.
Good.
Getting better. So that's good.
Well, I know people are going to check in with you over at the
Wild
Goose Festival.
I would love that.
So you should come join us. So, intern Quincy, will you put up links to all this stuff, to Wild Goose Festival, the Church Planners Academy, to the Mesa thing on the Doug Pagitt page on Facebook? Yeah. See, look at that. Now we have an intern to do stuff.
Know.
I mean, who thinks about scaling all this back on just the time when we get ourselves an intern? Ridiculous.
I mean, come on.
All right. Hey, we're going to have an interview with a fellow named Matthew Lee Anderson.
Yes.
Matthew has written a book called The End of Our Longing. No, The End of Our Exploring.
Yep.
The End of Our Exploring, a book about questioning and the confidence of faith. And he is one who will argue, I don't think questioning is such a great idea in the way that you postmodernists do it, starting with that you should question all authority. So it's going to be an interesting and lively conversation between the three of us, I would imagine.
You suspect.
So if you're listening live, you're going to have to roll over to the new one. If you're listening on your podcast, it'll probably do it for you. So stick with us here. Doug Pagitt Radio, broadcasting live out of the Twin Cities and around the world, and maybe even on the space station.
You're listening to Doug Pagitt Radio.